Welcome to That's My Biz, the Internet Business Showcase, where we bring exposure to products, services, and special causes of local businesses and organizations. Thank you so much for joining us. We are coming to you live from the BizLinks TV studio, brought to you by Visual Marketing Mentors, LLC. Hello, everyone. Welcome to That's My Biz. I always start this out with I have some great guests to share with you. I don't think I have to introduce you this time. I have with me Santa Rick. He is Chief Elf and just jolly old fellow.
It's so good to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
I really used to come see me all the time until you were like 11, and you've stayed on the nice list.
Good.
But I missed that you don't come see me
Oh,
anymore.
well, we're having, you put out the cookies and put out the hot chocolate. We got a date. So
It's a deal. It's a deal.
Now we have with us Santa Rick, and he is part of what's called the real bearded Santas.
That is correct.
Now, tell us what's the difference in that and all these other Santas that we see out there.
Well, there are a lot of companies that rent out Santas.
Okay.
They rent out Spider-Man and other superheroes, Easter Rabbit, and so what you have is someone who just puts on an outfit and may not have any experience or even a lot of knowledge about a character.
Okay.
But a real bearded Santa usually has spent a lot of time getting to that point. I started 42 years ago with a snap-on beard.
Okay.
And then over the years my beard changed from black to white. And what you get with a professional is experience. But that's not really the key issue. The key issue is you have someone who is a professional Santa that really loves the children more than anything else. And that's what really makes a difference is in professionalism is you really love the children. The second thing would be the experience because you hear the most beautiful stories.
Right.
And unfortunately, you hear the most horrible stories sometimes, and you have to know how to field that. You also need to know how to answer incredible questions, everything from wanting babies to dealing with divorce and death. So it comes with being a professional on how to field those questions and how to interact with the children. You also have people with special needs, both children and adults, and you have to know how to deal with that as well. The bit about a real beard, as a person who started out with a fake beard, it is a different animal. The Santa who puts on a beard and the Santa who has a beard is a different animal. And when you have the white beard, it's even a different animal than someone who has a different color beard.
So in thinking about that, so of course this is a time of year that a lot of people think about Santa or put more energy into thinking about Santa, right, when it's time for the holidays. But so is it truly a year-round job?
Well, it's a year-round event. No matter where I go, people look at me and go, "You're Santa Claus."
Okay.
And I mean, I was flying on a plane back from Arizona, and the child was misbehaving sitting in front of me, and all of a sudden he turned around and he looked and he said, "Mommy!" And he said, "There's Santa Claus." And she turned around and looked at me and she said, "Thank you." And he sat right down, and about every 5 minutes he'd ask me for a different present. But he went from a wild, crazy child to a calm, sedate, beautiful child. So it is. And when I'm driving and people, adults as well as children, when they cut me off or do other things, I can't act like everybody else. I have to smile and just nod and thank them for nearly killing both of us. And it really is, when you have the look, it really is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Well, and I can tell you, and it sounds, and many people, because of the movie, they think it's the best thing in the world. But of course, you're a real person that has to live out in this world as well and have your own thoughts and feelings and, want to be private, want to be public. But now you talked about hearing a lot of the different stories and the great stories and some of the sad stories. But tell us about maybe one of your most memorable stories.
Well, actually, the most beautiful story out of all the past 42 years happened last year about a week before Christmas.
Okay.
And I give my stories names. This one is called the Little Trampoline. And what it was, I was actually in a mall, which I do malls part-time, and I was sitting with a child who came up that was 4 years old on my left knee, facing to my right side, and his mother, about 30, 35 years old,
Okay.
sat down right beside me. But when a child's in your lap, they don't see anything. So even though he was facing his mother, he didn't see her. And we're face to face
Yeah.
talking. And I asked him what he would like, and he immediately said one present, and I said, well, how about something else? And he came up with a second present. And then he said, that's it. And I said, wouldn't you like something else? And part of being a Santa is you know immediately when something's wrong. You may not know what's wrong
Right.
or how wrong it is, but you know something's wrong. And so he said, yes, I'd like a trampoline. And with that, I felt this like fish hook in my gut pulling me towards his mother. And I
Right.
turn around and I look at her. And my initial thought in that half a second was they can't afford
Right.
a trampoline.
Right.
And so I looked at her, and she's sitting way back, and the muscles on her face are just wiggling, and she's just white and in pain. I could
Yeah.
see she was in pain.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, you want a trampoline? Well, my thought was she couldn't afford it. So I said to the child, well, I guess, we'll have to work on that because I don't know if it'll fit in my bag, thinking that they couldn't
Right.
afford it. And he goes, no, 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 not a big trampoline, a little trampoline. So I felt worse.
Right.
I just knew you as a Santa, you develop this instinct, and I knew there was something worse going on.
Okay.
I look at his mother now. It's 3 to 5 seconds later, and her blouse is soaking wet. And I actually thought it was a prank because I've never seen anyone cry like
Okay.
that. Water was just pouring out of her
Oh.
eyes. It wasn't dripping. And I thought, oh, what have I done now?
Right.
And I look at the child and I go, oh, you want an exercise trampoline, one like
Right.
this big that you jump on.
Right.
And he says, no, I want a little trampoline like this. And I look at his mother, and now, again, it was just
Yeah.
surreal. Her blouse is soaked, her pants are even wet. And not making a sound, but trying to hold it back so she won't disturb her child. And I look and I said, oh, well, I've never seen a trampoline that small.
Okay.
I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back to the North Pole tonight, and I'm going to see about making one that small. And he says, good. And I said, well, why do you want such a small little trampoline? He's got these little 4-year-old hands. And at the same time, when I said that, he said, I lost my brother. She said, I lost my child. And when that happened, I started crying.
Yeah.
So the mother was crying quietly. I was out now just bawling just like that. And the child looked so happy. And I said, you know what? I said, when I get back tonight, even though it's right before Christmas, I'm going to stop all the elves from all the present making. And we're going to figure out how to make a little bitty trampoline for your brother. And he just lit up, and he said, oh, that's so wonderful. How will he get it? And I looked at him and I said, you know what? I said, your little brother's in heaven, and I have never been to heaven. But I don't know that there's anything I can't really do. And I'm crying while I'm saying this. I said, but I'm going to talk to the elves, and we're going to figure that out. And I'm going to take that little trampoline to your brother, and he's going to have a great Christmas. So I asked my friend about it, because I've got a very dear friend, Jay, who when things are overwhelming for me, I bounce things off him. And I said, Jay, what is the take on this? I'm overwhelmed today. I need help. Jay said, it has to do with humility. I mean, didn't miss a beat. He said, his little brother had a little soul, and all he needed to be happy was to have a little trampoline that his soul would fit on, and it's about humility.
Wow.
So it was an amazing thing.
That's a beautiful story.
Out of all the times I've been Santa these past 42 years, I don't remember not having an end. To this day, I don't know how she got up, how I got up. I don't remember an end to it. We were just sitting there crying.
Right.
It's wild.
Wow, that's a beautiful story, though.
It is a beautiful
Wow, thank you
story.
for sharing that. I'll tell you now, and then even in talking about those gifts, that I can imagine the challenges with, can they afford it? What do I tell them? And that you've learned, of course, over the years about that. But now, so tell me, as Santa, can you turn down a gift request or turn down some of the gifts that are mentioned on this list that I can imagine that you're given?
Well, the answer to that is yes, you can.
Okay,
And sometimes, yes, you should, but sometimes you never should.
okay,
I had a just a couple weeks ago. I had a 6-year-old ask me for a rifle. I
okay.
said, "Oh, what kind?" And he said, "Oh, 30-06. That's for deer hunting." And I looked at his mother and father, who was standing there. His dad's going like this. So I said, "You know what? I'll see about that. I don't normally bring weapons, but I'll see about that." There are times, though, you do have to say no.
Right.
When I say no, which a lot of Santas will not do, I, I try to do it in a way that doesn't eliminate it where it's a definite no, but where it's an opportunity to do something else. I point out that the elves really are toy makers,
Okay.
and that's their specialty. Yes, they make some clothes. They're not really technically advanced. They're technologically challenged, and they can make some electronic
Yes.
things like cell phones and Game Boys and stuff.
Okay.
But it's better if they go with that. And usually I can sway them without having to tell
Okay.
them no.
Okay. Well, and because I do remember now, because I was getting fancy and asking for my iPad Air 2, and I was told that the elves, their forte are the toys, so
Right.
that kind of electronic gadget may be a little bit beyond their current reach. So I'm going back to my list because I have some other things that they can handle. So I'll make sure that I share that with you before you leave. Now, let me ask you: is there a real Santa?
Of course, there's a real Santa.
Okay, good, because
And you should know.
that was my
You should know there are a
take.
lot of people all over the world in malls and street
Yes.
corners and
Okay.
collecting charity. And the truth is, one of them is real.
Okay.
The real one may even be sitting here, but the real one will never tell you who they are.
Okay.
The other ones know they're not real,
Okay.
but they're Santa's helpers. And it's needed because there's never enough time.
Yep.
There's never enough
Definitely.
time to be with the children or for the children to be with you. And it's a very magic time.
Yeah, because we have that age-old question of, how does he get around in this one night? Even though I know we've got different time zones and whatnot, so there's a lot of little details. But I know some things they're best kept to, the imagination, I think. But to know that it happens
And
is
belief in the magic of
Right,
Christmas.
right.
The magic of Christmas is very real.
Yeah.
And Santa's very real.
Yeah,
And
it
great
brings
things
a lot
happen.
to people, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
It really does.
yeah.
It's a magic time. And when the children are right there with you, some of them just, they run, they run in place and they put their hands in their mouth and they forget their list, which
Yeah.
they knew 30 seconds earlier.
Right,
Mom and Dad
right.
are going, didn't
Write
you
it
want
down.
this? And it's just so
Yeah.
exciting.
Wow. So now let's talk about these elves. So are there different kinds of elves? Is there the one kind of elf? We get them mixed up with other, I don't want to call them beings, other individuals. So tell me about the elves.
Well,
Give me
there
a little
are
inside.
there are 4 kinds of
Okay.
elves. There are the elves who make the toys, which you know about.
Okay. Yes.
And they're all very short. They're about this high, and
Okay.
they do great work.
Okay.
Great work.
Okay.
And then a lot of people know about the elf on a shelf. Not everybody knows about that, but they're real.
Yep.
And they, of course, report back and let me know what's going on,
Okay.
help me with the naughty and nice list.
Okay.
And then there are elves who take care of all the reindeer. I mean, we have more than the 9 reindeer, Rudolph and the other 8.
Okay.
And they all are about this tall, and they all have beards. Most of them are white, but they're not all white.
Really?
And then there's the EIA, which almost nobody knows about.
Okay.
And now that I'm telling you, it'll be a big thing,
Okay.
but there's the EIA.
Wow. See, this is why you watch That's My Biz. You find out this kind of stuff. So tell us about the EIA.
That stands for Elf Intelligence Agency.
Okay.
Now, these are regular size elves. They're the only elves that don't have the pointed ears.
Okay.
And like if you're at the grocery store with your children and or your husband, or your husband's with you, and being bad, you'll see someone maybe standing by the broccoli, looking at you, making notes, and those are the EIA.
Okay.
They are actually in charge of the naughty and nice
I was
list.
about to ask about
And
that.
and the head person with that agency works with me directly to make sure we get all the presents to the right
Okay.
people. But it's the EIA that
Okay.
that pulls that together.
Wow. So now this naughty and nice list, because we understand the nice list, and that's why I try very hard to stay on that nice list.
Well,
But the naughty
you're on
list,
it this year.
fantastic. Good, good. Another great year. So now, the naughty list. What really happens with the folks on the naughty list? I mean, is it truly coal that they get,
Well,
or what?
It's a funny thing about coal.
Okay.
Years ago, coal was a good gift because we didn't have central heat and air. So if you got a chunk of
Ah.
coal, it wasn't as great as a toy,
Right.
but it was great to keep warm.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that was a good thing, just not as good a thing. The naughty list is for people who aren't nice, not necessarily just children, it could be parents. But what's important is no one is overlooked at Christmas.
Okay.
No one's overlooked, and it's easy to move back onto the nice list
Okay.
because that's where everybody really belongs.
Right, right. That's
You need your
fantastic.
presents.
That's
and
right.
I want to bring them to you.
Right. So those of you out there that know, some of you know you're on the naughty list, so it's good to know that you can get back over into that nice list.
Easy.
Good, good. So make sure you do the things that you know to get back over onto that nice list. Now, Santa, now tell me, how old really is Santa? Is he immortal, or how old is he?
A lot of people think Santa's immortal,
Okay.
and he's not.
Okay.
Santa's lived 200 to 400 years, and then we pass it on to the next Santa. There's some movies that show how that works, but no one's immortal, but no one's immortal, just God.
So these movies, they're really kind of giving us some of the insights as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's
I
just
won't
matter
tell
of-
you which ones are telling
Okay.
you the right information, but
Okay.
yes.
I work with the ones that I believe in, and
There we
we'll
go.
keep it going like that,
There we
right?
go.
It's all about belief.
It's exactly
All
right.
about belief. Fantastic. So now, tell me about the best part of being Santa.
The best part. Well, the best part is seeing there's an incredible energy and just it's pure energy and innocence and beauty and hope. And hope is a key thing because humans live because of hope that children have. And when you are Santa, you actually, for the children that believe, you actually not only see that come alive inside of them, but you have a piece of that, and it is the best of the best. I mean, there's nothing that's like that. Nothing. It's incredible.
Great, great. That is wonderful to hear. Now, everyone, because I know you all are wanting my inside track here, so I'll share a little bit because we know this is one of the hardest working Santas that's out here, one of the real bearded Santas. So, and you stay busy. Tell everyone just all the things you do outside of what we already know with the packages and talking to the kids and all of that. But tell them some of the other things that you do with kids and throughout the year.
Well, I 41 years ago got involved with Big Brothers of America. My little brother Adam, who is not little, but he's still my brother, and his children are 18 and 22, and they call me Uncle Ricky or Uncle Santa, and I'm very involved with them, thank God. It's just a real blessing. I've worked at the Georgia Aquarium.
Okay.
Santa's in disguise, so you'll see me, and I am Santa. I really am Santa, but I do other things when it's off season. I work as a mediator and an arbiter and a divorce coach, trying to make peace in battlefields, because in the field of mediation, my favorite is domestic, and while domestic is any personal interaction between family members, my favorite is divorce with children. And I really try to get the parents to focus more on loving their children than whatever caused the divorce. And so I do things on a volunteer basis. I've taught classes at public schools on dating, emotion, and relationships to children 14 to 17. That's a great class.
Okay.
Because no matter how you feel, even if you're totally insane or the sanest person in the world, your feelings are true to you,
Right.
and it's okay. even if you're the only one that's going to feel that way. But what you do with them is not okay.
Okay.
So it's about learning to just control the way you feel.
Yeah, love that description. And then, of course, you're available as Santa to come out and
7
do
days a
events.
week, 24 hours a day. I can come to your house on Christmas Eve and deliver presents. I can work at a corporate event, a Christmas in July event if you'd like, just whatever you like.
That is fantastic.
Because I'm real.
That's it. That's it. You've got real Santa right here. You need to make sure that you reach out to them. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, because I know some people need you for Christmas Eve and many other evenings as well.
Well,
So.
there's 3 ways. I'm on LinkedIn as Santa Rick. I am on Facebook as Atlanta Santa 2012, and that's the number 2012. And then, of course, you can reach me by email at ROSESTWO, roses2, at gmail.com, or my phone number, which cannot be given out to children, is 404-936-2888.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you reach out to Santa Rick. You want a real Santa, someone that has the experience, 42 years
42.
of experience. You cannot beat that, because again, he told you, you don't know which one is the real one. So you get potentially the real one. So you want to make sure you reach out to Santa Rick. Exactly. So you please watch our show again on demand, get his information, hear the wonderful stories. Please pass this on to other family and friends and your colleagues as well. Check out the on-demand episode at bizlinks.tv. Santa Rick, thank you so much for joining us. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. We're happy to share you with our friends. I love that. Give that to us one more time.
Oh, you're going to have a great Christmas. I know.
Thank you. You all heard it right here. I am Pamela Alexander with BizLinks TV Network, and that's My Biz. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/BizLinks TV. Give us your comments. We want to hear what you have to say, and definitely share your information with Santa Rick as well out there on our YouTube. We'll get that message to him. Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, we want to expose your business to the world. Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed on demand on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are interested in having your products, services, or special cause showcased on our program, submit an inquiry to that'smybiz@bizlinks.tv. In addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at bizlinks.tv.